I had only one job inside Massimo Ricci's mansion: keep the paralyzed Mafia boss calm, medicated, and alive until Saturday night. Massimo Ricci was the most feared man in Italy, but after his paralysis, his empire rested on one signature. On Saturday night, his family would gather inside the mansion, and if Massimo signed the papers placed before him, control of everything he owned would pass to the two people standing closest to his wheelchair: his beautiful fiancée, Valentina Serra, and his trusted cousin, Stefano Conti. Valentina smiled like a loyal woman. Stefano spoke like a faithful brother. But both of them were running out of time. On Friday evening, one day before that meeting, Valentina brought Massimo his medicine herself. She told him the doctor wanted him rested, placed 2 pills beside his glass, and bent down to move the black shoes he kept near his wheelchair every night. That was when my 5-year-old daughter Rosie stepped out from behind my coat and asked, "Mama, why are his shoes wet?" No one moved. Valentina's hand froze on the shoe. Stefano turned toward my daughter so quickly that my son Ben grabbed my dress. And Massimo Ricci, who had not spoken a full sentence all evening, looked at his fiancée and said only one word. "Again? I am Nora Wells, and I am telling you this after everything happened. From the same mansion where my little girl's innocent question changed all our lives. I had come there as a rejected chubby nanny with 2 children because no other caregiver wanted the job. What Massimo meant by again, why Valentina wanted those shoes removed before Saturday night, and what Rosie noticed before any adult in that mansion did, shocked everyone. Watch this story until the end, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you are watching from. I did not know, when I first stood outside the Ricci mansion that morning, that I was walking into a house where silence had become a weapon. I only knew that the agency had called me at 6 before sunrise, and the woman on the phone had not even tried to make the job sound pleasant. "Mrs. Wells," she said, "this position is difficult." Difficult was the word rich people used when they did not want to say dangerous. "What kind of care does he need?" I asked. "Mobility support, medication reminders, meals, nighttime monitoring, and emotional patience." "Emotional patience?" "He has dismissed 11 caregivers in 8 months. I looked at the kitchen table in front of me. 2 slices of bread, 1 bruised apple, a school notice for Ben's overdue lunch payments. Rosie asleep on the sofa because the landlord had still not fixed the heat in the bedroom. "What does it pay?" I asked. The woman named a number that made my hand tighten around the phone. It was enough for rent, enough for food, enough to buy Ben shoes that did not pinch his toes, and Rosie a coat that did not have someone else's name written inside the collar. "I can start today," I said. "Mrs. Wells, you should understand who he is." I know who Massimo Ricci is. Everyone knew. Before his paralysis, Massimo Ricci had been the man other dangerous men apologized to before speaking. He owned shipping companies, hotels, private security firms, restaurants, construction contracts, and enough politicians to keep his name out of places where names like his belonged. People called him a businessman in public and crossed themselves in private. Then 8 months ago, his car had gone off a cliff road near Lake Como. He survived. His legs did not. After that, the city changed the way it spoke about him. Some pitied him. Some feared him more. Some waited. That was the thing about power. The moment people believed you could no longer defend it, they started measuring your throne. I was not thinking about thrones that morning. I was thinking about breakfast. I washed Rosie's face with cold water, tied Ben's shoelaces twice because the left one kept coming loose, packed their only clean clothes into a brown bag, and told them we were going to a big house where Mama had a chance to work. Ben was 7, old enough to know I was hiding fear. Rosie was 5, young enough to believe a teddy bear could protect us if she held it tight enough. We took 2 buses and walked the last 12 minutes up a road lined with cypress trees and walls so high they seemed built to keep out more than thieves. The Ricci mansion rose beyond the black iron gates like a palace that had learned to be cruel. White stone, tall windows, marble steps, guards in black suits. A fountain at the center of the driveway, dry in the winter light, its stone angels staring down like they had seen too much and said nothing. Ben slipped his hand into mine. "Mama, are we allowed to be here?" That question hurt because it sounded like one I had asked myself my whole life. In restaurants where women looked at my body before my face. In offices where employers smiled until they heard I had children. In my father's house, when his new wife stood behind him and said 2 kids were too much noise for a small place, even though the house had 4 empty rooms. "We are here because I was hired," I said. "That means we are allowed." A guard approached the gate. His eyes moved over my old coat, my worn dress, my hips, my children, and the teddy bear in Rosie's arms. I knew that look. It was the look people gave when they saw your need before your name. "Nora Wells?" he asked. "Yes." "The caregiver?" "Yes." The agency did not mention children. The agency hired me. My children go where I go until I can afford another choice. His mouth tightened. "Mr. Ricci does not allow children near his rooms. Then keep us away from his rooms until he tells me otherwise. You do not give instructions here. Neither do you give me a reason to leave before I have met the patient." The guard stared at me like I had done something unusual by refusing to disappear. Before he could answer, the front doors opened, and Valentina Sarah stepped into the light. I had seen her face in magazines at grocery counters I could not afford to shop in. She was beautiful in a way that looked expensive to maintain. Blonde hair pinned low, cream dress, thin gold bracelet, skin so smooth it looked untouched by weather, worry, or work. She descended the steps slowly, her smile already in place. It was not kind, it was trained. "You must be Nora," she said. "Yes, ma'am." Her eyes fell to Ben and Rosie. How unexpected. I explained my situation to the agency. "Did you?" She looked at the guard, then back at me. "This house is not a shelter." Ben looked down at his shoes. Rosie pressed her teddy bear to her mouth. Something in me burned, but I kept my voice level. "Good. I did not come for shelter." Valentina's smile thinned. "Massimo is not an easy man. Easy men do not pay enough for me to bring my children through gates like these." For the first time, her expression shifted. Not anger, surprise. She was used to women like me lowering our eyes. I had done enough lowering for one lifetime. A sound came from inside the doorway. The soft, controlled roll of wheels over marble. Valentina turned, and everything in her posture changed. She became gentler, softer. Devoted in the way a woman becomes devoted when someone important might be watching. Massimo Ricci appeared behind her in a black wheelchair. I had seen photographs of him standing beside senators, shaking hands with men who looked afraid to smile too widely. Photographs had not prepared me. The wheelchair did not make him look harmless. It made the room around him look tense. He wore a black suit, open collar, silver watch, and a heavy ring on his right hand. His dark hair had gray at the temples. His beard was trimmed close. His face was pale but sharp, carved by pain, pride, and sleepless nights. His legs rested beneath a dark blanket, still as stone. His eyes were not still. They moved from me to Ben, from Ben to Rosie, from Rosie to the teddy bear, then back to me. "You brought children," he said. His voice was quiet, rough and dangerous, because it did not need to rise. "Yes. I asked for a caregiver. I am one. I asked for someone who could follow instructions. I can. I asked for someone without complications." That word hit me because people had used different versions of it for years. Too much, too heavy, too tired, too many children, too many needs, too hard to love. I could have apologized. I could have begged. But Ben was listening, and I had promised myself he would never learn that dignity was something poor people had to surrender at rich men's doors. "Then reject me for my work," I said. "Not for my children." The guard looked away. Valentina's eyes sharpened. Massimo watched me long enough for my pulse to start counting the seconds. Then Rosie stepped out from behind my coat and looked at his wheelchair. "Does it hurt?" she asked. My heart dropped. "Rosie." Massimo's gaze lowered to her. "Sometimes?" She nodded as if this was an answer she understood. "My Teddy had a broken leg once." No one spoke. Rosie lifted the bear slightly. One stitched leg hung crooked from old thread. "Mama fixed him, but Hesto looks sad when people stare." Massimo did not smile, but something moved behind his eyes. A small shift, a private wound recognizing another. "Your Teddy is lucky," he said. "My mama fixes things," Rosie replied. "That is why we came." Valentina's hand closed around the back of Massimo's chair. "The children should wait with the staff." Massimo did not look at her. "They stay where their mother can see them." Valentina's fingers tightened, then relaxed. That was the first time I saw it. Not the cruelty. I expected cruelty. Not even the control. I expected that too. What I saw was fear. A flicker so fast anyone else might have missed it. But mothers notice fear because we spend our lives checking rooms before our children enter them. You have one day, Massimo said to me. If you pity me, you leave. If you lie to me, you leave. If your children break anything, you pay for it for the rest of your natural life. Fair, I said. And if anyone insults my children, I leave before you dismiss me. The corner of his mouth almost moved. Almost. Breakfast is at 9. I do not eat eggs. He turned his chair back into the hall. Valentina followed, her smile gone. That was how I entered the Ricci mansion. Not as a savior, not as a woman with a plan, but as a mother with no safer door left to knock on. The house smelled of lemon polish, old money, and medicine. Every step echoed. Staff moved quietly, eyes down, shoulders tight. No one wasted words. The head housekeeper, a thin woman named Clara, showed me the first-floor sitting room where Ben and Rosie could stay while I worked. It had a sofa, a small table, and tall windows overlooking the garden. Rosie placed her teddy bear on the sofa like he needed rest. Ben stood near the door, watching everyone. "Do they hate us?" he whispered when Clara left. "No," I said. "They do not know us. That is sometimes worse." He was too young to say things like that. My son had learned too early that strangers did not need reasons to be unkind. I knelt and fixed his collar. "Stay with Rosie. Do not touch anything unless I say. Do not wander. If anyone speaks to you badly, you come to me. What if the scary man speaks badly?" I looked toward the hall where Massimo had disappeared. Then I will speak badly back. Ben gave me the smallest smile. It was enough. Clara took me upstairs next. "Mr. Ricci's rooms are private," she said. "You enter only when called. His medication schedule is kept by Miss Sarah. His therapy notes are kept by Mr. Conti. The doctor visits twice a week. Your duties are meals, transfers if he permits them, bathing assistance if he permits it, linen changes, pain monitoring, and making sure he does not become agitated before Saturday." "What happens Saturday?" Clara stopped walking. "Family meeting." "What kind?" "The kind that makes servants remember they are servants." That told me more than she meant to say. Massimo's suite occupied the west side of the second floor. Bedroom, sitting room, bathroom, balcony, private study. Everything was dark wood and creamstone, expensive but joyless. Near his wheelchair, placed neatly beside the right wheel, sat a pair of polished black shoes. They were beautiful shoes, handmade leather. Perfect shine, pointed toward the balcony doors like they were waiting. I stared at them a second too long. Clara noticed. "Do not move those." "Why?" "Because Mr. Ricci said so." "Does he wear them?" Clara looked at me as if I had asked whether the moon needed a key. "No." "Then why keep them beside the chair?" "Because Mr. Ricci said so." There it was again. The rule that explained nothing, because no one was allowed to question the man who made it. Massimo was by the window when I entered, his chair angled toward the garden. Valentina stood beside him with a small silver tray. 2 pills, a glass of water, a folded napkin. She lifted one pill between polished fingers. "The doctor wants you rested today." "The doctor wants many things," Massimo said. "Most of them billed by the hour." Valentina laughed softly, but her eyes did not. "Please, for me." He looked at the pill, then at her. "You say that when you want obedience, not trust." Her smile held. "I say it because I care." I stood near the door, silent. A caregiver learns quickly when a room has its own weather. This one felt like a storm held under glass. Massimo took the pills. Valentina watched until he swallowed. She placed the empty glass on the table and bent to adjust the blanket over his legs. While she did, her hand brushed one of the black shoes, pulling it slightly back toward the chair. That was when Rosie appeared at the doorway. I turned, horrified. "Rosie, I told you to stay downstairs." "Ben is reading," she said. I was quiet. Valentina straightened. "Children are not allowed here." Rosie did not answer. She was staring at the shoes. Then she stepped closer, touched one with 2 fingers, and pulled her hand back. "Mama." Her voice changed, small, confused. "Why are his shoes wet?" Silence fell so quickly it felt like someone had cut a wire. Valentina's hand froze above the tray. Clara, who had been arranging linen near the bathroom, stopped moving. In the hallway, the guard turned his head. Stefano Conti appeared in the doorway as if he had been close enough to listen. He was tall, dark-haired, handsome in an easy way, with the polished calm of a man who had never had to raise his voice to be obeyed. "What did she say?" he asked. Rosie moved behind my skirt. Ben appeared behind her, alarmed, holding his book against his chest. Valentina smiled too fast. "Children imagine things." "She touched the shoe," I said. "It felt wet to her." "Then a servant overpolished it," Valentina said. "Clara, remove them." Clara reached down. Massimo's voice stopped her. "No," Clara froze. Massimo was looking at the shoes now. Not angry, not confused, focused. "Again?" he said, one word. It changed the room. Valentina's face did not collapse, but it tightened at the edges. Stefano stepped forward with a gentle smile. "Cousin, you are tired. We discussed this. The shoes are only shoes." Massimo turned his head slowly toward him. "Did we?" "Several times. How convenient that I do not remember." Valentina touched his shoulder. "That is why the doctor wants you calm. Stress is not good for your memory." Massimo looked at her hand until she removed it. I should have pretended not to notice. That would have been safer. Instead, I noticed everything. Valentina wanting the shoes removed. Stefano arriving too quickly. Massimo saying again, like a man who had been told the same lie more than once. Rosie's face pale with the fear of having done something wrong. "Rosie," I said softly, "come here." She came to me. I picked her up, though she was getting too big, because some moments required a mother's arms more than a mother's rules. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "You did nothing wrong." Stefano looked at me. "Mrs. Wells, your children need better supervision. Then perhaps the house needs fewer secrets at floor level." The room went still again. Valentina's eyes flashed. Massimo looked at me, and this time I saw something sharper than pain. Interest. "Leave us," he said. "All of you," Valentina protested first. "Massimo, you have just taken your medicine. Then it should make me agreeable soon. Enjoy the miracle from another room." Stefano gave a small laugh. "You have your humor back today. I never lost it. People just stopped being worth the effort." Stefano's smile remained, but his eyes cooled. He and Valentina left together. Clara followed. The guard remained outside the door. I stood with Rosie in my arms and Ben near my side, unsure whether all of you included us. Massimo answered without looking away from the shoes. "You stay." My stomach tightened. "Mr. Ricci, if my daughter disturbed you..." Your daughter asked a question. "Yes. That is rare in this house." He rolled closer to the shoes, slowly, his hands controlled on the wheels. Up close, I could see the exhaustion beneath his expensive clothes. Not weakness, exhaustion. There is a difference. Weakness gives up. Exhaustion keeps fighting after sleep stops helping. "Touch them," he said. I hesitated. "The shoes." I set Rosie down and crouched. The leather was cool, not soaked, damp along the lower edge and sole. I did not say that. I only stood. "Well?" he asked. "They are not dry." His jaw tightened. "I have not worn shoes in 8 months." "I know. Do you?" His eyes held mine. Most people in this house know only what they are told. I know what a man in a wheelchair can and cannot do without help. His expression changed slightly. "You have cared for paralysis before?" "Spinal injury patients, yes. Nursing assistant work." "Then you know I cannot rise from that chair in the night. Walk across wet ground, return, and forget it by morning." "Yes. Yet they tell me I do." He said it quietly. So quietly I almost wished he had shouted. "Who tells you?" "Everyone who needs me unsure of my own mind." Rosie pressed against my leg. Ben's eyes were wide. I should have ended the conversation there. I should have remembered I needed this job, not trouble. But trouble had already entered the room before me. I only happened to see its shoes. "Mr. Ricci," I said carefully, "if someone is moving your shoes, there may be a simple reason." There is always a simple reason when liars explain things. His gaze moved to my children. Take them downstairs, feed them. Then come back. Am I still employed? For now. Because of my work or because of my daughter? Because she noticed something grown people were paid not to see. It was the first honest thing anyone had said in that house. Downstairs, Clara brought bread, soup, and fruit for the children without meeting my eyes. Ben ate slowly, trying not to look hungry. Rosie gave her Teddy a crumb before eating her own bread. I sat beside them, my mind replaying Massimo's one word. Again. Mama, Ben whispered. Did Rosie do bad? No. Then why did everyone look scared? I looked toward the hall where Valentina's voice floated faintly behind closed doors, sweet and sharp at once. Because sometimes a child says something adults have been pretending not to know. Rosie leaned into me. I didn't mean to make the pretty lady mad. I know. She looked like Mrs. Crane. Mrs. Crane had been our last landlord, a woman who smiled at church and threatened eviction on Mondays. How? Rosie looked at her Teddy. Like when people smile but their eyes are pinching. Ben nodded. I saw it too. I kissed Rosie's hair. From now on, both of you stay where I can see you. Because of the scary man? Ben asked. I thought of Massimo staring at the shoes. No, because of everyone else. The rest of Friday unfolded like a house trying to hide its pulse. Valentina came and went from Massimo's suite with soft words and controlled hands. Stefano spent long stretches in the study with 2 lawyers, his voice low enough that servants had to pretend they were not listening. The doctor arrived at 3, stayed 18 minutes, and left with an envelope Stefano placed into his coat pocket. I did not see what was inside. I saw the doctor's hand close around it too quickly. Massimo refused lunch. Valentina blamed pain. Stefano blamed mood. I watched the timing. He had eaten breakfast before the pills. After the pills, his voice slowed. His eyelids grew heavy. His anger remained, but it moved through fog. I had seen strong medication do that. I had also seen over-medication disguised as care. When I checked the chart near his bed, the dosages were written in a neat hand with no corrections. Too neat. Real medical notes had life in them. Changes, initials, small messes from people trying to keep bodies alive. This chart looked like it had been written for lawyers, not nurses. You read upside down, Massimo said from his chair. I looked up. His eyes were half-lidded but alert enough. Habit. What did you see? A very clean chart. That is not an answer. It is the safest one. Safe answers bore me. Unsafe answers get women like me fired. Women like you? Women who need work more than they need to be right. He studied me. You have a husband? Not anymore. Dead? Only to responsibility. His mouth almost moved again. Children's father? Unfortunately. He left? He decided motherhood changed my body too much for love, and his freedom too much for fatherhood. There was no pity in Massimo's face. Good. I could not have tolerated it from him. And your family? He asked. They prefer me when I am not asking for help. So you came here. Yes. To a man everyone fears. Fear pays better than kindness. That time, the corner of his mouth did move. Barely. You speak like someone who has been insulted enough to become efficient. And you speak like someone who misses being obeyed. I am still obeyed. No, I said before I could stop myself. You are managed. His eyes sharpened. The room seemed to narrow around us. Explain. I should not have. I did. Obedience means people follow your will. Management means they arrange your day so your will has fewer chances to matter. He looked at me so long I felt the heat rise in my face. Then he turned toward the window. Leave. I gathered the linen basket, heart pounding. At the door, his voice stopped me. Mrs. Wells, yes? You are either very brave or very tired. Mostly tired. Good. Brave people do foolish things for applause. Tired people do what works. That was the first moment I understood Massimo Ricci did not hate honesty. He hated that no one had dared give it to him for 8 months. Evening settled over the mansion in gold and gray. The Saturday meeting became the house's invisible center, Everyone moved around it. Lawyers arrived with folders. Stefano made calls. Valentina ordered flowers for a room where no celebration was planned. Clara changed Massimo's sheets with trembling hands. At 6, Valentina brought his medicine herself. 2 pills, 1 glass, same silver tray. I watched from near the wardrobe. The doctor said he should sleep early, she said. The doctor says many things through your mouth, Massimo replied. Because you refuse to listen when he speaks himself. She smiled at me. Some patients become suspicious when they are in pain. Some caregivers become suspicious when medicine arrives without labels, I said. Valentina's gaze met mine. The labels are in the medical file. May I see it? No. Then I will record what I administer. You will administer what I give you. Not without knowing what it is. The softness left her face. Mrs. Wells, you have been here less than 1 day. Do not confuse employment with authority. I do not need authority to refuse unsafe care. Massimo watched us in silence. Stefano entered before Valentina answered, as if he had sensed the air turning. Is there a problem? The new caregiver is nervous, Valentina said. No, I said. The new caregiver is asking what medication her patient is taking. Stefano smiled. His smile was warmer than Valentina's, and therefore more dangerous. Of course, we appreciate concern. The doctor has adjusted Massimo's pain management several times. The current file is in the locked cabinet. Then unlock it. His smile did not fade. Tomorrow, after the meeting, we can arrange full access. Tomorrow. After the signature, Massimo leaned back. Give me the pills. I turned to him. Mr. Ricci, give them. I did not want to, but he held out his hand with command that still had iron in it. Valentina placed the pills in his palm. He swallowed them dry, never taking his eyes off Stefano. Satisfied? Stefano asked gently. No, Massimo said. But you are. That interests me. Stefano laughed softly. Rest, cousin. Tomorrow is important. For whom? No one answered. That night, the mansion did not sleep. It pretended to. Ben and Rosie were given a small room near the servants' corridor. I tucked them into a narrow bed together, Rosie curled around her teddy, Ben facing the door like a guard too small for the duty. Mama, he whispered, are we staying? Tonight. After tonight. I brushed hair from his forehead. I am trying. I know. 2 words. Too much trust. I kissed them both and left the door open a crack. Near midnight, Massimo's bell rang. I found him in his sitting room, sweating, one hand clenched around the arm of his chair. The lamp beside him was on. His eyes were sharp but strained. Pain? I asked. Memory. What do you mean? There is a difference between forgetting and being told you forgot. I moved closer. Do you want water? I want my house back. There was nothing to say to that. I checked his pulse, fast, skin warm. Pupils slightly narrowed. What did they give you? I murmured, more to myself than him. His hand caught my wrist, not hard, urgent. If she brings the blue one, he said, voice low, do not let me take it. My body went still. Who? His eyes fought to stay open. Valentina. What blue one? Small, no mark. Makes the room move. His grip weakened. Then they tell me I walked. The words slid into the silence between us. Who tells you that? He blinked slowly. Stefano says I ruin the garden at night. You cannot walk. A bitter breath left him. That is what I keep saying. I looked toward the black shoes beside his chair. They were dry now, polished, perfect, too perfect. Why keep the shoes there? I asked. To remind myself I had a body before everyone turned it into paperwork. His eyes closed. And because every time they move, I know someone has been inside my room. A chill ran through me. You knew? I suspected. Why not say something? His eyes opened again. To whom? That question sat heavier than any answer. In a house full of guards, servants, family, doctors, and lawyers, the most powerful man in Italy had no one to tell. I stayed until his breathing slowed. I did not give him any more medicine. At 2 a.m, I heard a sound in the corridor. Soft steps, a door opening, a whisper. I moved to the sitting room door and looked through the narrow crack. Stefano stood outside Massimo's bedroom with one guard beside him. The guard held something dark in his hand. Shoes. Massimo's black shoes. Stefano spoke too softly for me to catch every word, but I heard enough. Not tonight, the child noticed. Clean them and keep them in the service room until morning. The guard nodded. And the blue pill? Saturday before signing. Not before. Valentina panicked too early. My blood went cold. I stepped back before they saw me. My heart pounded so loudly I was afraid it would wake the house. I should have taken my children and run. Any sane woman would have. But sanity is easier when your children have somewhere safe to sleep. Mine did not. By morning, I had made my first list. I wrote it on the back of an old receipt in my bag. Shoes moved at night. Wet Friday evening. Stefano ordered guard to clean. Blue pill before signing. Valentina controls tray. Medical file locked. Massimo aware but drugged. It was not proof. It was danger written in pencil. Saturday arrived bright and cold. The mansion changed its skin by noon. Fresh flowers appeared in the main hall. Silver was polished. The long dining room was rearranged into a private meeting chamber, with chairs for lawyers, relatives, and senior men from Massimo's business. The papers arrived in a black case carried by a lawyer who did not look at anyone for too long. Valentina wore navy blue and pearls. Stefano wore a charcoal suit and the calm expression of a man who believed time belonged to him. Massimo woke clearer than I expected because I had delayed his morning pills with the excuse that he had nausea. Valentina did not like it. He needs routine, she said. He needs to know what he is swallowing. Her eyes hardened. You are becoming too comfortable here. No, I said. I am becoming useful. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. Do you think he sees you? A tired nanny with 2 children and no place to go? The words found old bruises. I did not let her see them. I think you are afraid he sees too much when he is awake. For 1 second, her face showed the woman beneath the silk. Cold, angry, cornered. Then she smiled again. Women like you always mistake proximity for importance. And women like you mistake control for loyalty. Her hand moved before I expected it. Not a slap. She was too polished for that. She gripped my arm hard enough to hurt. After tonight, you will leave this house. Then I should pay attention while I am still here. She released me. Neither of us spoke of it. Some wars begin quietly because both sides know witnesses matter. By afternoon, Ben had made his own place in the mansion. He sat in the corner of Massimo's study with a chessboard he had found on a shelf. He did not know how to play, but he liked arranging the pieces. Massimo watched him from his chair. The king moves 1 square, he said. Ben looked up. Because he's weak? Because everyone wants him dead. Ben considered this with the seriousness of a child who had known too much insecurity. Then why be king? Massimo's face changed. I have asked myself that often. Ben pushed a pawn forward. Maybe because someone has to protect the little ones. Massimo looked at him. Not softly, not yet, but deeply. Who taught you that? Mama. I stood at the doorway, unseen until Massimo's eyes lifted to mine. Something passed between us. Gratitude, maybe, or the beginning of trust. Rosie was less careful. She liked Massimo in the direct, fearless way children sometimes choose wounded people. She drew him a picture of a black chair with wings. So you can fly if your legs are tired, she explained. Massimo stared at the drawing for a long time. I look angry. You are angry. You draw what you see? Mama says honest drawings are better. He glanced at me. Your mama says many dangerous things, Rosie nodded. That's why bad people don't like her. I nearly choked. Massimo's eyes flicked toward Valentina, who had just entered with a folder. Valentina heard. She smiled. Children repeat what they are allowed to hear. Adults hide what they are afraid to say, Massimo replied. The room cooled. Valentina placed the folder on the desk. The lawyers are ready. Stefano wants you rested before the meeting. Stefano wants many things. He wants to protect you. From whom? She looked at me. From people taking advantage of your condition. Massimo followed her gaze. Mrs. Wells has had less than 2 days to take advantage of me. You have had 8 months. I prefer the slower thief. Ben's mouth opened. Rosie giggled. Valentina's smile remained because she was too skilled to drop it in front of Massimo. but her eyes promised punishment. It came an hour later. A maid found a bottle of pills in my coat pocket. I had never seen the bottle before. It was small, blue glass, unlabeled. The maid gasped loudly enough to draw half the corridor. Stefano arrived first, Valentina second, Massimo last, pushing his chair with hard, controlled strokes. Ben and Rosie stood behind me, terrified. "What is this?" Stefano asked, holding the bottle with a handkerchief. "I do not know." "It was in your coat. Then someone put it there." Valentina's face was pale with perfect disappointment. "Nora, why would you do this?" "Do what?" "Interfere with his medication." "We trusted you." I almost laughed. "Trusted me." The word sounded obscene in her mouth. Stefano sighed, the way good men sigh when forced to be firm. "Massimo, we warned you." She questioned the doctor. She refused instructions. Now pills are found in her coat hours before the meeting. "How convenient," Massimo said. "Yes," I said. That was my thought. Stefano looked at me with polite contempt. "Mrs. Wells, you are dismissed." Ben grabbed my hand. Rosie started crying. Mama didn't take it. Valentina knelt, false kindness in every movement. "Sweetheart, adults sometimes do things when they are desperate." Rosie pulled away. "Don't talk to me." Valentina's face tightened. Massimo's voice cut through the room. "No one dismisses her without my order." Stefano turned to him. "Cousin, this is exactly why tonight's meeting is necessary." "Your judgment is compromised." Massimo went still. There it was. The trap opening its mouth. Stefano continued, gentle and deadly. "You are emotionally unstable. You are allowing a woman you met yesterday to influence medical decisions. We cannot risk your health or the company." "The company," Massimo repeated. "Not my health." "They are connected. Only to men who profit from both." Stefano's expression hardened. "You need rest." Valentina reached for the tray a servant had brought behind her. I saw the small blue pill at the edge of the dish. No mark, exactly as Massimo had described. "No," I said. Everyone looked at me. I stepped in front of the tray. "He is not taking that." Stefano's voice dropped. "Move." "No." "Mrs. Wells." "No." The guard near the stairs stepped forward. Ben pulled Rosie behind him. Massimo's hands tightened on his wheels, rage flushing through the drugged exhaustion on his face. For a terrifying second, I saw the man he had been before paralysis. The man who could have ended a room with one gesture. Then his body failed him. His right hand slipped. The chair jolted. Pain crossed his face. Valentina seized the moment. "Look at him," she said, voice breaking beautifully. "Look at what stress does to him." Stefano gave the guard a small nod. The guard took my arm. Ben shouted. Rosie screamed. Massimo said my name once. Not Mrs. Wells. Nora. It stopped me more than the guard's grip. I looked back. He was trying to reach me, but his body would not obey fast enough. The old Massimo Ricci could have protected anyone he chose. The man in the chair was being forced to watch the first woman who had believed him dragged out of his house. "Take her children too," Valentina said softly. "Of course," Stefano replied. "We are not cruel." That was how cruel people spoke when they wanted witnesses to admire their restraint. They put us outside through the side entrance, not the front. That mattered. Rich houses use different doors depending on how much shame they wanted attached to your exit. Ben carried our bag. Rosie clung to me, sobbing into my coat. The sky had turned gray. The gates closed behind us with a sound I felt in my bones. I had lost the job. I had lost the money. I had lost the only warm place my children had slept in weeks. But inside my pocket, hidden in Rosie's teddy bear because my daughter had more courage than most adults in that mansion, was the blue pill she had taken from the tray when Valentina knelt to lie to her. I did not know she had done it until we reached the road. Rosie lifted the bear with shaking hands. "Mama," she whispered, "I took the bad one." In the bear's torn seam, wrapped in a piece of tissue, was the pill. Small. Blue. No mark. I stared at it. Then at my daughter. "Rosie." She was going to give it to him. Her lip trembled. I didn't want the angry king to go sleepy again. I held her so tightly she squeaked. Ben looked back at the gates. "Are we going to run?" I thought of rent, hunger, My father's closed door. Valentina's smile. Stefano's voice. Massimo saying my name like a man watching his last chance leave. No, I said. We are going to find proof. There are moments in life when a woman discovers she is no longer afraid of losing things because everything soft has already been taken. What remains is not bravery. It is clarity. I took my children to a small cafe near the bus station, bought 1 plate of pasta for them to share, and used the owner's phone to call the only person from my nursing days who still answered when my name appeared. Her name was Dr. Elaine Morris. She had been a resident when I worked hospital nights, before marriage, before babies, before life narrowed into survival. Nora, she said, I need you to identify a pill. That is illegal over the phone. Then tell me what to do legally. She heard something in my voice and stopped joking. Where are you? Near Milan Central. Send a photo. I borrowed the cafe owner's old phone, took a picture, and waited. 10 minutes later, Elaine called back. Her voice had changed. Where did you get this? From a patient's tray. Was it prescribed? Not on the chart I saw. Nora, this is not a normal pain medication. It is a sedative used in controlled settings. Given with certain nerve pain drugs, it can cause confusion, memory gaps, muscle weakness, and impaired coordination. I closed my eyes. Could it make someone seem mentally unstable? Yes. Could it slow physical rehabilitation? Absolutely. Could it make a paralyzed man believe he was losing his mind? Silence. Then Elaine said, What have you gotten involved in? I looked at Ben feeding Rosie the last bite of pasta. A job. Nora, can you document what you just told me? Not without seeing the patient file. What if I get it? Then I can review it. Carefully. Unofficially at first. Thank you. Nora, be careful. I almost smiled. People always say be careful after the danger has already chosen you. The problem was proof. A pill was not enough. A wet shoe was not enough. My notes were not enough. I needed the medical file, therapy reports, medication changes, and something connecting Valentina or Stefano to the scheme. The family meeting was in 4 hours. If Massimo signed, they would control access to everything. After that, I would be a dismissed nanny with an accusation no one would hear. So I did the only thing I could. I went back. Not through the gate. Through Clara. I found her at the market behind the estate, where servants bought things rich kitchens forgot they needed. She saw me and turned pale. You should not be here. I know. They said you stole medication. They lied. In that house, lies with signatures become truth. Then help me find something stronger. She gripped her basket. I have worked there 20 years. Then you know what they are doing. Her eyes filled, but she blinked the tears back. Knowing is not the same as surviving. Massimo is not surviving. He is being buried slowly. Clara looked away. I have a son. So do I. That made her look at Ben, standing behind me with Rosie. Shame moved across her face. The old therapy report, she whispered. What old report? After the accident. First month. Dr. Bellucci wrote that Massimo had early nerve response. Small but real. He recommended aggressive therapy. What happened? Dr. Bellucci was dismissed. New doctor said no meaningful recovery. Therapy reduced. Medication increased. Where's the report? She hesitated. Stefano kept copies in the locked cabinet. But Massimo asked me to hide one after the first time he woke up with mud on his shoes. My heart kicked. You have it? Not here. Can you get it? Clara looked toward the mansion walls. If they find out, Saturday night they take everything. Her face tightened. For a moment I saw not a servant, but a woman who had spent 20 years watching a house teach good people to stay quiet. She reached into her basket, pulled out a key wrapped in cloth, and pressed it into my hand. Service entrance. Laundry corridor. The report is behind the loose panel in the linen room. Bottom shelf. I put it there because no one in that house looks where women clean. I closed my hand around the key. Thank you. Do not thank me yet. She looked at my children. If you go in, you may not come out safely. Rosie lifted her teddy. We can be quiet. Clara nearly broke then. God forgive us, she whispered. We are letting children become braver than us. We entered through the service door at dusk. The mansion was busy preparing for the meeting, which made invisibility easier. Staff carried trays, men in suits crossed halls. Flowers were adjusted in rooms where no one would smell them. I kept Ben and Rosie close, moved through the laundry corridor, and found the linen room. The loose panel was exactly where Clara said. Behind it was a brown envelope, old, creased, sealed with tape. Inside, Dr. Bellucci's original report. Early motor response. Positive sensory indicators. Recommended therapy 6 days per week. Avoid excessive sedation. Patient cognitively clear. Recovery uncertain but possible. I read the final line twice. Excessive sedation may compromise rehabilitation progress and create false indicators of cognitive decline. There it was. Not everything. Enough to begin. Behind the report was a flash drive. My hand trembled when I picked it up. Clara had not mentioned it. Maybe she had forgotten. Maybe Massimo had hidden it. Maybe God sometimes leaves doors unlocked for women with no other way through. We had to leave before I could check it. Footsteps approached. I pulled Ben and Rosie behind a curtain of hanging sheets. Stefano entered the linen room with a guard. Check the service doors, he said. Clara has been nervous. You think the nanny will come back? The guard asked. Stefano laughed softly. People like her always come back for money. My grip tightened around the envelope. What about the child? The guard asked. The little one saw too much. She is 5. 5-year-olds become witnesses if adults give them words. My blood turned cold. Stefano continued. After tonight, it will not matter. Massimo signs. Valentina takes medical authority. I take operations. And the court will accept his decline as documented. By Monday, the caregiver will look like a thief. The child like a confused girl. And Massimo like a broken man protected by loving family. The guard said nothing. Stefano's voice hardened. Bring the shoes to the meeting room. The shoes? If Massimo refuses, we use the incidents. Wandering, memory gaps, delusion. The lawyers need a pattern. But he can't walk. Exactly. That is why people will call him insane. He left. I stood behind the sheets, shaking with anger so pure it steadied me. Ben looked up at me. He had heard everything. Rosie had too. Mama, she whispered, they are bad. Yes. Are we still quiet? For a little longer. We slipped out through the laundry corridor and hid in a storage room near the meeting hall. I found an old laptop on a desk used by staff for inventory. The flash drive opened without a password. Inside were audio files, dates, times, short clips. My breath caught when I clicked one. Massimo's voice slurred but furious. I did not leave my room. Stefano's voice. You were found near the garden doors. Valentina, soft as poison. You were confused, darling. The doctor warned us. Another clip. Massimo. Why are my shoes wet? Valentina. Because you wore them. Massimo. I cannot stand. Stefano. That is why we are worried. Another. Dr. Bellucci's voice, angry. He has response. You reduce sedation, or you are destroying his chance. Stefano. You are dismissed. The flash drive was Massimo's. He had recorded them. He had known enough to gather pieces, but not enough strength, access, or trust to use them. I copied nothing. No time. I took the drive, the report, the pill, and my notes. The meeting had begun. Through the cracked door, I heard Stefano's voice carrying from the grand hall. We are here because we love Massimo and because his condition has placed him in danger. I almost laughed at the shape lies take when dressed for family. He has suffered memory lapses, emotional instability, and nighttime episodes he cannot explain. Tonight, we ask him to accept temporary protection until doctors confirm his capacity, a lawyer murmured. Papers shifted. Valentina's voice followed, trembling beautifully. I only want him safe. I looked at Ben and Rosie. Stay behind me. Do not speak unless I ask you to. Ben nodded. Rosie clutched her teddy. Will the angry king be mad? Maybe. At us? No. I opened the door and walked into the grand hall. Every head turned. The room was long, gold-lit, and full of people who knew how to hide greed behind concern. Ricci relatives sat along one side, lawyers at the table, Senior men at the back. Valentina stood beside Massimo's wheelchair, one hand near his shoulder, but not touching. Stefano stood at the head of the table with documents spread before him. Massimo looked pale, drugged, and furious. A glass of water sat near his hand. 2 pills rested beside it. One was blue. His eyes found mine. For a moment, the room disappeared. There was only that look. Not surprise, not relief. Recognition. As if some part of him had known I would return because no one else had. Stefano recovered first. Remove her. No, Massimo said. His voice was rough but clear enough. She stays. Stefano smiled tightly. Cousin, this woman was dismissed after medication was found in her possession. Yes, I said. Because your fiancé put it there. Valentina gasped softly. Perfectly. How dare you? I walked to the table and placed the blue pill down first. It clicked against the polished wood. This was the pill Rosie took from Massimo's tray before you could give it to him. The room stirred. A child stole medication? Stefano said. No, I said. A child saved evidence. Valentina's face went white beneath her makeup. I placed the old report beside the pill. This is Dr. Bellucci's original rehabilitation assessment, written 1 month after Massimo's paralysis. It says recovery was uncertain but possible, and it specifically warned against excessive sedation. The lawyer nearest me leaned forward. Stefano's voice sharpened. That report is outdated. Then why hide it behind a linen shelf? No one answered. I placed the flash drive on the table. And this is why every caregiver ran. Why Massimo kept those shoes beside his chair. And why Valentina wanted Saturday night to come before anyone asked the right question. Stefano moved toward me. Ben stepped in front of Rosie. Massimo's hand hit the arm of his chair. Touch them and lose the hand. The room froze. There he was. Not the broken man they had arranged for the meeting. Not the sedated patient. Massimo Ricci. Stefano stopped. I looked at the lawyer. Play the first file. He hesitated. Massimo spoke. Play it. The lawyer inserted the drive into his laptop. Massimo's recorded voice filled the room. Slurred, angry, trapped. Then Stefano's. Then Valentina's. The first recording ended. The second began. Then the third. With every clip, the room changed. Concern became suspicion. Suspicion became horror. Horror became calculation. Rich families do not collapse all at once. They rearrange themselves around the side most likely to survive. Valentina tried to cry. He was confused. We were protecting him. By telling a man who cannot walk that he had been walking at night? I asked. By hiding his recovery report? By drugging him before a legal meeting? Stefano pointed at me. She is manipulating him. She wants money. I looked at the room, then at Massimo. I came here with $12 in my purse and 2 hungry children. If I wanted money, I would have stayed quiet and let your family pay me. I picked up the report. You told everyone his legs had failed him. The truth is the people around him did. Silence. Then Rosie stepped forward. I reached for her, but she looked at Massimo, not me. I saw her hide the blue one, she said, voice shaking. And the shoes were wet because someone was pretending you walked. But you didn't. You told the truth. Massimo closed his eyes. Just once. When he opened them, something in him had changed. The fog was gone. Pain remained. So did rage. But beneath both was grief. Not because he had been betrayed. I think he had suspected that. Because a 5-year-old child had believed him before his own family did. Valentina's mask cracked. You think this woman cares about you? She snapped. Look at her. A desperate nanny with 2 children and no name. She saw a weak man and found a way into his house. Massimo turned toward her slowly. She entered my house with more honor than everyone who carries mine. Valentina flinched. Stefano grabbed the papers from the table. This meeting is over. No, Massimo said. It is finally beginning. He looked at the lawyers. You will contact Dr. Bellucci tonight. You will preserve these recordings. You will document the medication found on that tray. You will remove Valentina Serra and Stefano Conti from every account, office, and medical authority connected to me before midnight. Stefano laughed once, ugly now that charm had failed. You think you can still command this family from that chair? Massimo's eyes turned cold. I commanded this family before I could stand. Do not confuse my legs with your spine. Stefano lunged toward the table, maybe for the drive, maybe for me. Guards moved. Massimo's hand lifted. I saw what was about to happen. Old power. Old violence. The kind of order that would stain the floor and make my children remember this room forever. I stepped in front of his chair. Not like this, I said. His eyes locked on mine. The room held its breath. Nora, he said, warning and plea together. Not in front of my children. Not anymore. For a moment, I thought he would ignore me. Men like Massimo did not survive by letting others tell them when to stop. Then he lowered his hand. 1 inch, then another. Call the police, he said to the lawyer. And private security loyal to me, not my cousin. Stefano stared as if the floor had disappeared beneath him. Valentina began to cry for real then, but not from regret. From losing, there is a difference. The next hour unfolded like a storm behind glass. Calls were made. Guards changed sides. Lawyers sealed documents. The doctor who had signed the newer reports was brought in by video and broke within minutes when faced with Dr. Bellucci's assessment, the pill, and the recordings. He admitted Stefano had pressured him. Valentina had delivered medication outside the chart. The wet shoes had been part of a pattern, staged to prove nighttime confusion. No one had expected Massimo to record his own gaslighting. No one had expected a dismissed nanny to return. And no one had expected a 5-year-old girl to notice what polished adults had trained themselves to ignore. By midnight, Stefano Conti was no longer smiling like a faithful brother. Valentina Serra was no longer standing beside Massimo's wheelchair like a loyal fiancée. They were escorted out through the front door because Massimo insisted on it. They wanted witnesses, he said. Give them witnesses. I covered Rosie's ears when Valentina screamed my name. Ben watched silently, his small jaw tight. I wondered what this night would cost them. Children should not have to see adults punished to learn truth matters, but sometimes the world gives them no cleaner lesson. When the doors closed, the mansion felt different. Not safe, not yet, but awake. Massimo sat in the grand hall, pale with exhaustion, one hand on the arm of his chair. Everyone waited for him to speak. He looked at the lawyers. The meeting is postponed. Then at the relatives. Anyone disappointed by that may leave before breakfast. No one moved. His gaze shifted to the staff. No one touches my medication except a licensed nurse approved by Dr. Bellucci. No one enters my room at night. No one moves my shoes. Clara began to cry quietly. Massimo saw her. You hid the report. She trembled. Yes, sir. Why? Because you asked me to, sir. You said if you forgot, someone honest might find it. His face tightened. Another stolen memory returned too late. Thank you, he said. Clara broke then. She covered her mouth and bowed her head. A thank you from Massimo Ricci seemed to frighten the room more than his anger. Finally, he looked at me. Mrs. Wells. My body was suddenly aware of how tired it was. Yes? Your children need sleep. Yes. So do you. Probably. Do not leave. I did not answer. He heard the silence. Please, he said. That word changed the room more than any order he had given. Massimo Ricci asking, not commanding, not buying, asking. Ben leaned against me, half asleep now that danger had passed enough for his body to remember he was 7. Rosie held her teddy to her chest and looked at Massimo. Are you still angry? She asked. He looked at her for a long time. Yes, she nodded. But not at us. No. Good, she yawned. Because Teddy likes you. Massimo's face shifted. Small, human. I am honored. That night, my children slept in the room they had been given, and I sat beside Massimo in his study, while the house settled into a silence that no longer felt arranged by fear. Dr. Bellucci arrived at 2 a.m, older than the photo in his report, furious enough to forget he was speaking to a Mafia boss. He examined Massimo, reviewed the medication, and said words no one in that house had allowed near him in months. They slowed you down. They did not erase the possibility. Massimo stared at him. Do not give me hope to be kind. I am not kind at this hour, the doctor said. I am accurate. Your recovery will be hard. It may be limited. You may never walk as you did before, but you were denied a fair chance. Massimo looked toward the black shoes beside his chair. For the first time, they did not look like a stolen promise. They looked like evidence that had survived. After the doctor left, Massimo and I remained in the study. Dawn had begun to pale the windows. "Why did you come back?" he asked. "Rosie stole the pill." "That is not an answer." I folded my hands in my lap. They were shaking now. "Delayed fear. Because you said her question was rare in that house." "It was." "Because Ben asked if we were going to run, and I realized I was tired of teaching my children that running is the only way poor people stay alive." He said nothing, because I know what it feels like when people tell you your body makes you less worthy of being heard. His eyes moved to my face. "Your husband. He was the first person who made my body feel like a debt I owed him. After Rosie was born, he stopped touching me. Then he stopped coming home. Then he said he had not married a woman who looked like me." The words did not hurt the way they once had. Maybe because Massimo did not pity me. He looked angry, but not at me. "He is alive?" "Unfortunately." "Name?" "No." His eyebrow lifted. "No? You are not going to solve my pain with one phone call and a threat." "That is how I solve most things." "I know. And yet you refuse?" "Yes." He leaned back, studying me. "Why?" "Because I did not come here to trade one powerful man's cruelty for another powerful man's protection." That landed. I saw it. He looked away first. "You want nothing from me?" "I want my pay." He almost smiled. "Of course. And breakfast for my children." "Done. And if I stay, I want full access to your care plan, medication, therapy schedule, and medical team." "You negotiate like a hostage taker." "I learned from Bill's." This time he did smile. It was brief, tired, and gone quickly, but it changed his face. I understood then why Valentina had been afraid of him becoming clear. A clear Massimo Ricci was not just powerful. He was alive. The weeks after that did not become easy. Stories lie when they make truth feel like an ending. Truth is usually the beginning of harder work. Stefano's removal shook the empire. Valentina's betrayal became a scandal whispered through Milan before breakfast. Lawyers came daily. Doctors replaced doctors. Guards were questioned. Old accounts were frozen. Men who had smiled at Massimo's weakness suddenly remembered their loyalty. He remembered their faces. He remembered everything. Dr. Bellucci took over rehabilitation with the cheerful cruelty of a man who believed pain was useful when properly supervised. Massimo hated him by noon and respected him by dinner. The blue pills were gone. The fog lifted slowly. With it came more pain. Real pain. The kind sedation had buried but not healed. Some mornings Massimo shook with anger because his body still refused him. Some nights he did not speak because hope had made the chair feel heavier. I did not comfort him with lies. I did not say he would walk again. I did not say everything happened for a reason. I had buried too many dreams to insult him with pretty sentences. I said, again, when therapy hurt. I said, breathe, when rage stole his air. I said, you can hate this and still do it, when he wanted to quit. Ben began setting up the chessboard every afternoon. At first, Massimo corrected him. Then he taught him. Then he started losing on purpose until Ben caught him. Don't do that, Ben said. Do what? Let me win because I'm little. Massimo looked at me across the room. Your son is insulting my strategy. My son is recognizing charity. Ben lifted his chin. Win properly or lose properly. Massimo nodded once. Fair. After that, he destroyed Ben in 12 moves. Ben was delighted. Rosie remained Rosie. She put stickers on Massimo's therapy chart until Dr. Bellucci threatened to resign. She named his wheelchair Thunder and his black shoes the serious ones. She brought Teddy to every difficult session and told Massimo, he is watching, so don't be rude. Massimo was still rude. But less. The mansion changed in small ways. Doors stayed open longer. Staff spoke above whispers. Fresh bread appeared in the kitchen without someone asking who deserved it. Clara laughed once, then looked startled by the sound. I bought Ben new shoes with my first proper pay and cried in the store because they fit. Rosie got a red coat and wore it indoors for 2 days. I stayed because Massimo still needed care. That was what I told myself. It was true at first. Then it became incomplete. He started asking my opinion on things outside medicine. Which staff should be trusted? Which rooms made the children uncomfortable? Which lawyer looked too hungry? I answered honestly. He listened. Not always gracefully, but he listened. One evening, 3 months after the meeting, I found him in the garden at sunset. The air was cold. The black shoes rested on his feet for the first time since I had known him. Dr. Bellucci stood nearby with 2 therapists. Massimo's hands gripped the parallel bars they had installed along the stone path. His face was white with effort. His legs trembled under braces. He was not walking the way people imagine miracles. There was no music, no easy triumph, no sudden cure. There was sweat on his forehead, pain in his jaw, and fury in every breath. But he stood, only for 7 seconds. Then his body gave out, and the therapist helped him back into the chair. No one clapped. Dr. Bellucci looked like he might bite anyone who tried. Rosie ignored that. She clapped anyway. Ben joined, Clara cried. I covered my mouth. Massimo looked at me, breathing hard. 7 seconds, he said, as if confessing failure. I stepped closer. 7 more than they wanted you to have. His eyes held mine. Something passed between us that had been building too quietly to name. Not gratitude, not dependence, not the dramatic love sung about by people who have never worried about rent. Something steadier, a recognition. 2 people who had been told their bodies made them less, standing in the same garden, refusing to believe it. Later that night, he asked me to stay after the children slept. I found him in the study, the black shoes placed beside his chair. Not as a taunt now, as a choice. I have arranged an apartment for you, he said. My heart dropped so quickly I hated myself for it. I see. Near Ben's school, 3 bedrooms, paid for 1 year, separate from your employment. I folded my arms. Are you dismissing me politely? His eyes sharpened. No, then what is this? Security. Whose? He paused. Yours. Massimo. It was the first time I said his name without Mr. Ricci attached. He heard it. Do not buy me a life because you feel grateful. I do not feel grateful. I feel indebted. That is worse. You saved me. My daughter noticed wet shoes. You came back. Because it was right. Right does not pay rent. No, I said. But rent does not give you the right to own my choices. He looked wounded for half a second before pride covered it. I was not trying to own you. Then ask me what I need before deciding. Silence. He looked toward the fire, then back at me. What do you need? No one had asked me that in years. Not what the children needed. Not what the job required. Not what I could manage without complaining. What I needed? The question almost broke me. I need my children safe, I said. I need work I earned, not charity wrapped in kindness. I need a door no one can close because they are ashamed of us. His voice softened. Then let me give you that. Give me work. Pay me fairly. Let me choose the rest. He nodded slowly. Done. I should have left then. Instead, I said, and you? What about me? What do you need? He looked at me as if the question was in a language he had once known and forgotten. I do not know. Then start there. Winter loosened. Spring came to Lake Como soft and green, touching even the Ricci mansion with light it did not deserve but accepted anyway. Legal cases moved forward. Stefano fought, failed, and lost more each month. Valentina tried to sell her story to the press until recordings made her sympathy worthless. Dr. Bellucci testified. Clara testified. I testified. Rosie was not required to, thank God, though she told everyone who would listen that bad pills are not for angry kings. Massimo created a new medical oversight policy for every employee in his companies, which sounded boring until Clara told me it protected injured workers from being managed into silence the way he had been. He did not announce it publicly. No headlines, I asked. Compassion done for applause becomes advertising. That sounds like something I would say. You are a terrible influence. You needed one. Ben grew taller. Rosie lost her first tooth and insisted Massimo keep it safe because he had the best security. He placed it in a velvet jewelry box like a diamond. He and Ben played chess every evening. Sometimes Massimo won, sometimes Ben did. Never by charity. 1 year after the Saturday meeting, the Ricci family gathered again in the same grand hall. This time there were no control papers, no blue pills, no staged shoes. There was a foundation charter on the table, transferring a portion of Massimo's legitimate profits into rehabilitation clinics. caregiver legal support, and emergency housing for mothers leaving unsafe homes. He did not name it after himself. He named it the Rosie Trust, I argued. Rosie loved it. Ben said it sounded like a bank for teddy bears. Massimo said that was the strongest brand identity in the room. At the signing, Massimo stood for 11 seconds with braces and support, long enough to sign the first page standing, long enough for every person who had once whispered outside his room to understand that even if he never walked across that hall unaided, he had already taken back more than they meant to leave him. After everyone left, I found him at the front doors. The same doors I had entered with fear folded into my coat. The black shoes were on his feet. His chair was behind him. The braces held him steady between the parallel bars Dr. Bellucci had insisted on installing discreetly near the entrance. He looked tired. He looked alive. "Do you remember the first thing you said to me?" I asked. "I asked for a caregiver. After that, I asked for someone without complications." I smiled. "You were rude. I was drugged. You were rude before the drugs wore off, too. Fair." He looked toward the garden where Ben and Rosie were chasing each other under Clara's watchful eye. "They were never complications. No. They were the only honest witnesses in this house." My throat tightened. "And me?" He turned to me. "You were the first adult who refused to let my body become someone else's story." I had no defense against that. "Massimo." "Nora." He said my name carefully, like it mattered where he placed it. "I needed a caregiver when you came here." I held my breath. "I do not need only that now. What do you need?" He looked at the children, then at the house, then at me. "A home that does not go silent when I enter it. A woman who tells me when I am wrong. Children who put stickers on medical documents and call my wheelchair thunder. A life no one has to drug me to survive." Tears blurred the marble steps. "That is a lot to ask. I know. And if I say no, then I will make sure you are safe, paid, and free to leave." That was why I believed him. Not because he could give me everything, but because he would let me refuse it. Love, real love, is not a cage with softer walls. It is a door that stays open after someone has the power to close it. I stepped closer and placed my hand over his. "Then ask me again when you are not standing just to impress me." His mouth curved. "I am absolutely standing to impress you." "Then sit before you fall." He laughed. "Not much. Enough." 1 year later, another woman stood outside the Ricci mansion gates with a child on her hip and fear on her face. I saw her from the window before the guard could send her away. I walked to the entrance with Rosie skipping beside me, and Ben pretending not to care while following close behind. Massimo came too, in his chair, black shoes polished, no longer waiting beside him like a stolen promise. The guard opened the gate before I spoke. Good, he had learned. The woman looked at me the way I must have looked that first morning. Tired. Ashamed of needing. Ready to be rejected before she asked. "I heard there might be work," she said. Her voice shook. "There is," I said. "Come in." She looked past me and saw Massimo. Fear flashed across her face. He noticed. He always noticed. "This house has rules," he said. The woman stiffened. Rosie stepped forward and took her child's tiny hand. Massimo looked at me, then back at the woman. "The first rule is that no one is treated like a burden for needing a door opened." The woman began to cry. I understood. Some kindness hurts at first because it reaches places cruelty trained you to protect. As she stepped inside, Rosie looked up at Massimo. "Are you still the angry king?" He considered this. "Occasionally. But not the bad kind." "I hope not," Ben grinned. "You are more like the grumpy castle owner." "That is worse." "It is accurate," I said. Massimo looked at me with the expression he saved for moments when love annoyed him by being correct. The mansion behind us was still large, still guarded, still filled with marble and history and men who spoke carefully around power. But it was no longer silent. Somewhere inside, Clara was laughing at something in the kitchen. A child's voice echoed from the hall. The grand room where Valentina and Stefano had tried to steal a life now held donation boxes, therapy equipment, and Rosie's terrible drawings of winged wheelchairs. The black shoes that once helped prove a lie were simply shoes now. Sometimes Massimo wore them. Sometimes he did not. They no longer decided whether he was a man. The world thought I knocked on Massimo Ricci's door because a paralyzed mafia boss needed care. The truth was, everyone in that mansion needed saving. Massimo needed someone to believe he was not losing his mind. I needed someone to see my children as more than complications. Ben needed proof that power could protect without humiliating. Rosie needed to stay exactly the kind of child who asked the question adults were afraid to answer. And maybe that was how broken houses changed. Not all at once, not with miracles. Not because a feared man suddenly became gentle, or a rejected woman suddenly forgot every wound that brought her there. They changed because one small voice noticed wet shoes beside a wheelchair. One tired mother decided not to run, and one man who had once ruled through fear finally chose to be saved by the truth.